I believe it's 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. This is the Thursday, January 24th, 2019 meeting of the Community Preservation Committee, duly posted. And we have a heavy agenda, so I'd like to start straight away and just point out that tonight we're going to follow our former rules of order, which is after we've had presentations, we'll just go around the room and everybody will have a time to make a comment, and there'll be no talking back and forth as we have done. Otherwise, we'll never get through the meeting. So the first item is the approval of the January 17 minutes. Do I have a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Second. And it's, okay. Catherine, did you get that?
I did, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any corrections or additions anybody would like to make? If not, we'll wait 1 second while Mr. Waddell, we're just looking at the minutes.
Excellent.
And we've just said that we're going to follow our old formula of going around the room individually and asking questions and, in an orderly fashion.
Do you have another copy with the minutes?
I do.
I just read it
So,
online.
Yeah, I didn't get to read them before.
Happy, do you have any questions on the minutes?
I'm sorry, Patrick. Here you
Oh,
are.
nope, all good. Oh, wow. Holy smokes.
Yeah, I know,
Not
it's
gonna
one.
come
I saw those 100-something pages. I did not print it.
There's a motion on the floor, Mr.
Right.
Chairman.
That's right. I know, but I would just, as a courtesy, we're going to give Mr. Waddell another 10
Are we
seconds.
talking our last minutes, or are we talking the minutes from last year?
No, this is from last the last meeting.
Okay, yeah, I did read those. Those are fine.
Yeah, okay. So, can I, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any objections? No? All right, so that is passed. Now, the next item on the minutes, let me just explain what happened. The January 25th meeting was when we voted the funds for the Wenham Museum, and it was recorded in the minutes as a vote of 4-2, when in fact, upon reflection, it was actually 5-2. So that was 7 members. Canon Anderson, who was a trustee, recused herself, a trustee of the museum, and Barbara Locke had not arrived at that point. That's why he didn't vote. So what I would like would be a motion to amend the minutes from January 25, 2018 to reflect the corrected vote.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Just a little clarification. Kenna didn't recuse herself. She actually made the motion. It was Barbara that wasn't present.
Well, there won't, did Kenan vote?
Yes,
That's how it
Then there
became,
weren't enough, it doesn't make sense.
that's right.
that's how it became 5 instead of 4, is that Kenan did vote, but I think the
But who
4-2
else wasn't here?
Barbara wasn't there.
Yeah, but
There was 2 other people.
5, that's 7, there are 9 of us.
Were you here? John,
I
were
think
you here?
that's what it was. I think Kenan did recuse. She didn't?
I watched that meeting a few times, Harry.
Okay. All right, then let's pass on this.
Yes.
Okay?
Well, that's okay, but let me clarify who.
Well, let's pass on it for this evening because we have so much to go on, and we'll,
The Selectmen Act for clarification. I just didn't want to hold it up.
I believe it was Arthur not present that evening, was the second member. So Barbara arrived after
right?
that, whereas Arthur was not there for that meeting. So I think
Really?
not present Arthur Burt of the Wenham Housing Authority.
Okay, all right,
Well, that was the night I had dual meetings. I came late.
okay.
It's a videoed meeting, so we can, it was confirmed.
I have the 2 meetings at the same
Okay, okay. So
Is it, did Barbara
can we
Locke-
still change the vote to 5-2? That's all we
That
really
is
want to
what-
do.
That's all we want to do, is I
Yes,
had
okay.
incorrectly
Just
recorded
correct
the
it.
vote.
Okay? The vote was incorrectly
Recorded as
recorded
4-2.
when in fact it was 5-2.
In favor of.
Do I have a motion to accept that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now, item number 3, Maplewood's update, if any. Well, I guess we have an update, all right? All I want to do tonight is make certain everybody has their copy, and we'll take it home and memorize it. There'll be a test on next Tuesday night, we're going to have a meeting. Mr. DeFranza is, what? This is the application. And what I want now is just someone to make a motion that we accept receipt of this application.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So, as I say, Mr. DeFranza is coming. We're going to talk about it later, but he is coming next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, I believe, in this room. And he will make a presentation. We will not vote that night, but we will hear his presentation and be free to make any questions, ask him any questions that we want.
Is that a previously scheduled meeting, or is that a?
No, this is brand new, and it is posted.
Tuesdays, yeah, Tuesday's a bad day.
I know that, I understand that, but it was real.
This is a very important issue, of course.
Yes, and it's important that it be in a facility where we can be televised, where we are comfortable, and there was no other real appropriate spot. If the selectmen are not meeting,
Well, it's not the spot, it's the date.
I
It's
know.
not for me too, but I'm going to make it.
Anyway, that's, and of course,
I'm here.
so is there anybody else who might have a question with that date?
That date was late, so late I couldn't be on this list. That's why it's not included.
Okay, so that is our update on Maple Woods. And you know, we might notice it is 2 words. We've been calling it Maple Woods as one, but it's Maple and Woods. You know, they have Tiger Woods up there off of exit, what, 17? And oh, yes.
Really?
Yeah. In Beverly?
Essex Woods. That's it.
There's Tiger.
Turtlewood.
Turtle,
Woods,
excuse me,
Turtle
Turtle
No,
Woods.
Turtle Creek.
Turtle
Essex Street.
Yeah.
I could think Tiger
Well, Turtle
would be
Creek's
better,
fine.
but anyway. All right, now, therefore, let's get to the heart of our
29.
evening, which is the review of applications for funding. The first one is the Wenham Lake Cedar Street Bench. Do we have people here to present?
Be sure your mic wherever you go. Okay.
You good?
Yeah, it's on your mic.
Hi, so my name is Missy Berry. I'm the Conservation and Open Space Coordinator for the town, and I'll be speaking for the Open Space and Recreation Committee tonight. So our application is for a bench on Cedar Street across from Wenham Lake. In the application, we showed some photos and potential area, well, not the potential, but the general area where the bench would go. So the bench would be one continuous piece of historical recycled granite originally quarried from Cape Ann. And the property is owned by, or is in care of Salem Beverly Water Supply Board, and they have given their approval for the project, and they would like to help with the installation of the bench. And the interest for the bench from the Open Space Committee came from their Open Space and Recreation Plan that they completed, where they got a lot of community input through 2 listening sessions as well as a survey, where one of the action items identified was to install benches along trails and walking paths in town to make them more accessible and to have places where people could take a break. This spot gives a great view of Wenham Lake, as well as it is close to Cedar Pond Wildlife Sanctuary, which has other trails that are frequently used. The bench is approximately $150 per linear foot, and we're looking at a 5-foot-long bench. And then there's another approximate $150 for delivery. So that's where the $1,200 is coming from.
Patrick, do you have any questions?
I do. I'm very familiar with the area, very familiar with the Beverly Salem Water Supply Board. Also very familiar with all the no trespassing signs that are in that area. I would say every 100, 150 feet, there's a no trespassing sign. So to put a bench under a no trespassing sign, it's kind of the fisherman by the no fishing sign, right?
Sure. So they do have those no trespassing signs, and they have certain areas that are completely like gated off, but they have no problem.
The only gated area is for a truck access. There's a road there. There's an access point, but that's the only gate that is there.
So when you're coming down Cherry, and if you're gonna be driving where like Wenham Lake would be on your left, there's like a fence,
The white fence,
right
yep.
there, yeah. But then they have no issue with people using that walking sidewalk right there, and they have the Phillips Memorial with the rock that's already there, and they went to their board, and they thought it was a good idea to install a bench there as well.
But you make a good point about the signage could be confusing
Yes.
for something that we
Well,
might need
not
to
just
talk to them
confusing,
about.
just
Yep,
yeah.
it's both inconsistent, so something we need to address with them as well.
Call next.
Yeah, does anyone know the history of the
Wait a
installation
minute.
of the patio?
Well,
Sorry.
wait, are you,
Yes.
okay, go ahead, Tom.
Sorry, no, I just was thinking that, that path is relatively new.
Right,
Those are the
So
Boy
it
Scouts that
seems-
redid
Yeah,
that.
it seems to
This is
It was
what
an Eagle
we,
Scout
be
project.
consistent.
discussions.
yeah. Natalie?
Just, I think it sounds like you've listened to your constituents, and it sounds like a really great project, and it was definitely a nice, detailed application with the pictures, so thanks for putting that together.
Yeah, no problem.
No, I have no issue with it. It's a very nice job. Thank you.
I have no issue.
Thank God we finally have an application for an open space.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much. I think it would be lovely.
Functioning as a monopod lately, the fact that we have more benches in about the area, I'm very excited by that, okay? Great selection, great spot, thank you very much, I'm in favor.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm in favor of it, too.
Okay, well, thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming in and explaining it all to us.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next application is for Habitat. We have anybody who's going to make that presentation?
Yes, Don Preston, I'm with Habitat for Humanity North Shore, and we're currently in the process of a comprehensive permit for this location at 40 Hull Street, which is currently a house that is no longer occupied and is in the process of collapsing. We propose to tear it down and erect two structures. Well, one structure, a duplex side by side, a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. We've gotten permission to work through Gordon College to access the Beverly Salem sewer line in the street, so we won't be dealing with septic on that. So we are applying for some funds to help towards the construction of this site. We address families in the 40 to 60% area median income. These will be home ownership units. In your housing plan, that was part of the goal, was to create at least 22 new units. And so in working with the Affordable Housing Trust, they wanted to have 2 on there, so we're going at this as a friendly 40B. There will be a local preference in that somebody who lives, works, or goes to school in Wenham will have a preference on one of the units. That does not guarantee that they will get it. It is an open process. The houses will sell for approximately $150,000 at 0% interest. So monthly payments should be in the $1,000 range, and they'll be fully accessible on the first floor for aging in place. We pay it for that.
Okay,
That's the overview.
all right. Let's start the other way. Barbara, do you have any questions at this point? And by the way, is he being picked up now with a microphone?
You can make the levels on the thing say that he's pretty good.
Okay, Barbara.
What is the cost per unit to build them?
The cost per unit is approximately $140. I think I've got in the budget there.
Arthur?
Well, there's no question, we need more units to get beyond the 40B requirement. I just feel it's kind of in a conflict with some other things that we're going to be dealing with at this time, things that came previously. So I'm kind of hesitant at this point. But I appreciate what you're doing, and I know we're going to perhaps, not just perhaps, I want us to address such issues once we get the bigger issue out of the way. Thank you.
Okay. What other funds have you received or do you expect to receive from the town of Wenham?
From the town of Wenham through the Affordable Housing Trust, acquisition funds have been committed.
How much?
$230,000.
Wait a minute, 430?
$230,000.
230,000. And you're asking for an additional 60,000?
Yes, $30,000 per unit to help towards construction.
Okay. Leo?
And we do build with a lot of in-kind donation. We're currently partnering with Essex Technical High School on our construction sites, so they help with electric, plumbing, and some of the framing, and also landscaping.
You've already have 230,000, and you'd like another 60,000. That's 145,000 a unit. I've been appointed to this committee, and I take the responsibility to dish out the money to the different applications as I would spend my own money on my wants at home. And I always look for most for the money. And at this rate, 145,000 a unit, and getting 2 units this year, I think it would take several years and several $1 million to get just to the 10% mark. I hope there's better deals out there where we can achieve 10% or even beyond 10% for a lot less per unit. I'm going to hold my judgment on this one.
Don?
Yeah, I think I will hold my judgment also. We're looking at $290,000 towards this particular structure. I know the total cost of land seemed to be somewhere in the range of $400,000. I'd like to see if maybe they could raise some more funds somewhere else.
Okay. Dennis?
I'm a firm believer of Habitat for Humanity. They do a terrific job. About 20 years ago, I got involved in a couple of projects with them. We have done a little bit more recently. This is where the struggle becomes. I understand the $145,000 or the additional money they're getting from someplace else. Fine. They're asking us for $30,000. It's the same as Maplewood. Same damn money. And we have the Affordable Housing Authority. We're pushing for them to go out, get projects. If we don't support them, what's their value? And so I kind of really push that everybody kind of thinks of that route. They're getting money from other people. It's not our concern where they get it. They're looking for 30 grand per unit, which is the same line as Maplewoods. That's where I stand. Thank you.
Natalie?
I also am a huge fan of Habitat for Humanity. I'm new to this committee, and you know, the first thing I read on our website was that we support preserving the bucolic nature of our town, and I think the projects that Habitat for Humanity does just that. It not only, and I think financially, when you look at just the expenditure of the project, you're not actually looking at the total economic impact that Habitat for Humanity actually does to the community. I'm sure that if we had any neighbors that were surrounding this property as it stands right now, they would be very happy to hear that you're going to rehabilitate this this property that has fallen into disrepair and give them good neighbors. And so to me, this is the best application. It hits all the marks for me, and congratulations, and thank you for doing all the work you do.
Thank you. Explain, we just finished 2 units on Asbury Street, and that started with a similar acquisition cost and a similar request through the town of Hamilton. The end result was 2 units valued at $475,000 each. That's the appraised value of the units, and the past was 230. So it's an impact in the tax, but there is a subsidy to do an affordable housing. The subsidy comes from someplace, and at this level, the request is at the local level. When you go into bigger projects, that subsidy comes through tax credits or DHCD or mass housing, but it's there. It's no different. So you've got land costs in Wenham. I think if you look at this unit and these land costs, this acquisition cost, you'll be hard pressed to find another property at $230,000 in this town. And a homeowner that's been willing to work with us since June, where this property could have been sold instantly.
Okay, thank you. Tom?
Yeah, I'd like to commend you for working with that property owner, and you know, I totally agree with basically what Dennis put forward in terms of the cost. The cost per unit for us is the same as doing larger projects, and the benefit, I think, of your project is it totally blends in harmony with the rest of Wenham, whereas the bigger projects stand out and, you know, really are disruptive to the landscape. So, I mean, I think it's a commendable project.
Thank you.
So I attended an affordable housing meeting over at First Church last year, I believe.
Yes.
And this was what people were talking about. This is what people wanted. They wanted small units, understanding that the cost is high. But they wanted places where people would have the pride of ownership. Now your owners will build as well. They'll be part of the building crew.
400 hours of sweat equity.
That's pride of ownership there. They get some. The police have also weighed in on this as well, right? Saying that they are in favor of turning this dilapidated property into a viable home. The Hamilton houses at $475,000 appraisal. What was the sale price?
145.
145. Wow. So a little bit more expensive than. Oh no, a little less than would be here.
Yes.
That's fantastic, and I drive by there quite often. They look beautiful. I think this is what the people have spoken to. The people that were at the affordable housing meeting. This is what they wanted. This is what we've been talking about. You've got the Beverly Water and Sewer. Again, $30,000 a unit. I support you, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Appreciate you coming in.
Yes.
All right, and now our third presentation is from the Community House.
I haven't heard from them today that they wouldn't be here. I wonder if the committee would be interested in me following up with them tomorrow to see if they could appear at the meeting on Tuesday. It doesn't seem, I'm gonna go check the hallway too to make sure
Would
they're
you?
not out there, but I haven't heard anything from them as of a few minutes ago by email that they wouldn't be here.
That's weird. Very interesting, isn't it? All right. In the meantime, wait a minute, is she talking to somebody?
I noticed someone peeked through that window, so.
they did.
There may be someone out there.
That was Anthony.
No?
No.
And the doors are unlocked, so
Well, when did you last speak with them?
I had contact with them on Friday. I hadn't heard from them again that they would not be attending. So I'm happy to check in with them again.
Did they ever say they were attending?
They never confirmed with me. I did try to call again, but I never got a hard confirmation that they would attend. Maybe.
What's the will of the committee at this point on this application?
And I would say to clarify that we have posted for Tuesday's meeting, but we have until tomorrow at noon
To add?
to change substantively prior to the 48 hours notice. So that's just,
If you could follow up,
I could follow up with them in the morning to see if they're available on Tuesday, if that's
get a
the will of the committee.
definitive answer?
Yeah, someone else did follow up with them because I was absent last Friday, so I'm happy to follow up with them again.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this at this point?
I have one.
Yes,
The new application deadline is February 11th.
correct.
So, obviously it was miscommunication.
Well, they already have their application in.
Okay.
The application has been
Is in.
here.
Okay, so, you know,
They
let's see if we
delivered
can
it,
do it for Tuesday.
yeah, they delivered it to the Hamilton Town meeting, town hall, and then when we opened it up, it was eligible.
Give them one more chance.
Yeah.
All right, so you'll see
I'll
if,
speak with them tomorrow and
Yeah.
let you know.
okay, very good on that. Now, this might be a time for me to bring up another possible application that I got from Diane Bucco. She was hoping to be here tonight, but another town event came up. The FinCom last night suggested to her whether this committee would approve the purchase of to be simple, a humidifier to put in.
A dehumidifier.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
A dehumidifier.
A dehumidifier, in with the upstairs vault, or the downstairs vault? I thought it was the upstairs one. Both.
I thought we
Okay.
did the downstairs already.
Well, we may have done, we built the town hall. The question is, and I did discuss this with Diane, is several years ago, and actually, Tom, you might recall, when the library wanted to buy some kind of a digital machine
Right.
that would digitize Hamlin and Wenham Chronicles
Yeah.
to preserve them, and the committee turned it down. It's not eligible. And there was another occasion when the museum wanted shelving
Right.
for some of the artifacts, and that likewise was turned down as, not that we didn't have the money, it was that you were probably around too, Leo, that it was not an appropriate use of CPC funds. So I'm not asking that we make any decision on this dehumidifier, but it's just something to keep in
Yeah,
mind.
I mean, it would be worth, looking into it again in the sense that, because remember we had the long discussion about the shelves, that
Yes.
you can't put the stuff on regular shelves, or,
Right.
for some reason, right? And there are archival shelves and there are other kinds of shelves, so.
And
I
it was
certainly
which
see how the-
articles, you remember? They were gonna have to go through and pick certain ones to go on certain shelves, and
Yeah.
that never happened.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe we could get clarity on equipment like this, which does seem different than digitizing,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, if,
what's it like? I mean, it's like if there was a leak in the room, that would certainly be jeopardizing the preservation, and you
we
would,
kind of need to know where it's going, but if it's
Right.
doing damage, and, I mean,
yeah.
this is an historic building, so.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think I mentioned it, where she thought it was in the range of $8,000.
So,
Okay? So, since I brought it up, we can see if a proper application does come in, and if so, come in
Put it
on.
on the schedule.
Yeah, I think so. Is there any interest in having any more discussion on the town hall debt? You've seen the number, you know what it is, you know the schedule.
yeah.
Sorry?
No, it doesn't seem.
No, so there's no real reason to have the finance director come in,
Yeah, it's fine.
okay?
It was explained to us.
Yeah, fine, good. All right, so therefore, we're now down to item 5, the current fund balance. And Jackie, do you have anything for us on this that we should note?
Yes, as I discussed last week, I would prepare a document that had been prepared by predecessors of mine, and I'm working to update it. But this is just to give everyone a sense of CPC allocations over time, because that was a question and a discussion that's been raised over the years. So this is just very brief, and I'll just pull it up. It's not up to date in terms of fiscal 18 and 19, and obviously the soon-to-be 20, but it does give you a sense of the greater picture, for the first decade of allocations, just about. So, and it'll be up there in just a moment.
Sorry. I apologize. I don't know why it's not doing its thing and not using the cord correctly tonight. I just didn't want to hurl a bunch of numbers at you. I wanted you to be able to see it, I think, because it's really a lot more compelling to view the numbers. But just to give you a sense of the figures that the committee had been seeking last week, for total expenditures under the category of historic purposes, but not including the town hall project, it's about $456,000 over the course of CPC spending. That's for historic. For community housing purposes, there's only been approximately $311,000 in allocations. And again, these numbers don't reflect the last 2 fiscal years of allocations, so obviously there have been some changes the last 2 years, and I'll get an updated spreadsheet that I'll have hard copies of for you for next week, for Tuesday. For community recreation purposes, we have $964,000 over the course of the life of CPA. And then for the town hall debt, both the principal and interest of the debt service, we have $1.88 million over the course of life of CPC, again, not including those last 2 fiscal years. And then finally, we have an allocation every year annually for administrative expenses, and that has been roughly about $3,000 to $4,000 in the first few years, and is now up to $7,500 a year. But due to the money given back every year, that's been about $50,000 max over the course of the life.
Okay, good.
Does anyone have questions or more
Jackie?
clarification?
Jackie, could you remind us how much money we've spent on open space since the inception of it?
Well, Leo, I knew you'd be asking that question, and it's just the $24,000 for the open space and recreation master plan. But just to clarify for if anyone's listening out there in the world that doesn't know a lot about CPC, because I know you folks know this, open space and recreation are technically the same category for coalition purposes, for the statute purpose. But for Wenham, that figure represents recreation projects, and then there's an additional $24,000 for the open space plan.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jackie.
Thank you. And if anyone has any further questions about this, feel free to email me, and I'll have copies of this for you on Tuesday. Sorry about the technology.
Does happen. Under new business, we could have discussed Diane's town hall request, but since she's not here, we'll skip over that. On the other page, turn over your agenda, and you see the agenda for next Tuesday. We're going to make a few little corrections to it. You see, we have the approval of minutes if they're ready. If not, we're not worried about it. And then under item 2, we'll have A is Maple Woods, B will be the community house if available, and C will be the town hall dehumidifier if available. Then we'll have the current fund balance report. And then item 4 is an admin issue. This is something Jackie will speak to. When we get applications, for example, like this big one from Maplewood, if it had come in electronically, it would have been easier to have sent it around. It came in very nicely, copies for all of us, but we like to have them electronically too. And it took Jackie and Nikki, I guess, 2 of you or 1 of you.
Oh, no, just I knew that it was an expectation, about prompt.
I have it on.
We can ask for an
I have it
electronic
on my
copy in
email.
future along with the 10 hard copies.
I know, but it still had to be put on. Okay, so that's fine. Item 6 is just a reminder, and it's on the website, February 11th is our new application date. We have a meeting on the 13th here, and at that meeting, that's when we tentatively want to vote. And there is another meeting that we're putting together for the 19th of February, at which point we hope to have the motions back from the lawyers. Remember that we want to double check and make certain everything is correct in terms of the amount of money we're giving or recommending, and the source of that money, which fund it's coming from, and whether there are any contingencies like perpetuity or whatever. But we want all of that clearly spelled out so that there'll be no surprises later on. So I hope that as many of you as possible will be able to come to those meetings. Typically, we schedule a meeting on Saturday, April 6th, you know, it may be at noon time, just in case there's something else that comes up. Rarely does. But otherwise, I hope that by February 19th, we'll be finished.
We can go to town lunch.
Yes, yes, yes.
A good lunch.
It is a good lunch.
It is. Courtesy of the WBIS.
That's right.
Any comments? Patrick, anything else you'd want to bring up?
Nope, all good.
Okay. Tom?
No, short meeting.
I know, we were lucky. Natalie?
No, thank you.
Dennis?
No.
No?
I'm ready to move adjournment if you'll accept it.
Wait a minute, we got a couple more people. Arthur?
I'm set.
And Barb.
I'm good to go.
All right, now we will. Leo?
I forgot what the motion was. I move we adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?